by from Team Gojo, what they're overreacting to around the NFL. We'll take an early look at some Week 3 spreads, plus how to approach the President's Cup from a DFS perspective, because we told you how to approach it yesterday from a sports betting perspective. But first, it's time to see who our baseball panel is splurging on tonight. DraftKings contributor Gary and Thorne, RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Good morning to both of you. Hey, Gary, and real quick, if you're the Pirates, are you pitching to Aaron Judge tonight? Now just one home run shy of the American League record of 61. What do you do?
I think you have to. I think if this game was in Pittsburgh, maybe it's a different story. Maybe you can sort of like walk him a couple times and the crowd isn't going to just throw garbage on the field. But there might be a riot if you don't pitch to Aaron Judge tonight at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, dude. Why not go ahead and write your name in the record books along with him, whoever the pitcher ends up being? Paul, in what could only be a side story for Judge this year, too, he also took over the AL lead in batting average last night, putting him in position to win the Triple Crown. And by the way, you can bet him to win it on the DK Sportsbook. So yes, minus 115, no, minus 105. Which bet would you take?
I would say take the plus bet. I like that. I think the guy's having clearly a historic season, and he looks like he's on automatic pilot now, just hitting these home runs. I think he can do it one-handed tonight to break the record for a little bit of added flair. That'd be kind of fun. But can you anticipate the MVP thing this year with him and Ohtani? I don't know. I still think it's a coin flip because Ohtani's doing what Ohtani did last year, and maybe even better.
Really? I didn't think that debate was that close. Gary, which side of that MVP debate are you on?
I think the debate is closer than what's going to happen.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm with Paul. I actually think Shohei Ohtani has a very clear argument to be made that he is the most valuable player in the American League. But I think the voters will overwhelmingly vote for Aaron Judge. Obviously, it's not as slam shut a case as it was back when we thought the Yankees were going to win 115 games. But I do think just with this home run, with the notoriety, with the slight voter fatigue Ohtani already has, with the fact that people don't like giving the Angels anything because they're terrible and waste all their resources. Like I said, I think when you actually look at the numbers, there's a case to be made, but I don't think that'll be reflected in the actual voting.
I mean, there was a stretch this season, dude. Like without Aaron Judge, like Yankees are like a bottom 5 team this year.
Oh no, I think there was a stretch in August where Yankee fans finally realized why Ohtani could be the MVP.
Yeah.
And it was that stretch when Aaron Judge was hitting like 600 with 19 home runs in a 20-game sample, and the rest of the Yankees were hitting below 150. And they were losing every night. And it was like, yeah, it's kind of hard when one guy is carrying your whole team to win games, isn't it? Maybe that's why wins don't matter in this conversation. But no, Judge is just doing too much in too big a market. He's going to win MVP.
All right, so let's start our Splurge or Save segment here on the mound. My guess is you want nothing to do with Pittsburgh's Ronzi Contreras tonight facing Judge and the Yankees, Garion.
I actually like Ronzi Contreras in a vacuum. Like, I don't want to use him against the Yankees tonight, but I think he's actually a pretty talented pitcher, just like I think Luis Ortiz, a pretty talented pitcher who pitched last night, throwing 100-mile-an-hour darts to Giancarlo Stanton. I am going to try to save, though. This guy's a little bit more expensive than Contreras is, but Bailey Ober really impressed me coming off the IL in his last start against the Guardians. He threw 5 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts, just 1 hit allowed in that game for the Twins. Not a lot of positive things happening for the Minnesota Twins right now, but I think Bailey Ober is one of those things. And obviously, there's a 3-month gap in his resume right now. So take these stats with a little grain of salt. But for the season as a whole, he's got a 2.80 FIP. He's in the 90th percentile in chase rate, opponent chase rate, and he's got a 13% swinging strike rate. This is someone who can rack up some fantasy stats. He can strike batters out and get those swings and misses outside the strike zone. So he threw 70 pitches his last outing. I think he's probably in that 85 to 90 range. But at $7,700 going up against a Royals team that has the second lowest WOBA of any club in baseball during the month of September, I think he can last 6 innings here and really just shut down an underwhelming Royals lineup.
All right, Paul, what's your strategy tonight on the mound? Splurging or saving?
I'm splurging. There's 2 compelling choices for me. First, I'll go look at Robbie Ray, Seattle, $9,600 at Oakland. Look, Ray always merits consideration because of his high strikeout potential. In fact, he's got at least 5 in his 7 of his last 8 starts, facing the second weakest offense in the AL in a pitcher-friendly park in Oakland. All of that sounds really good, especially when you factor in the very poor offense of the A's. So that's one option. Then I like Dustin May of the Dodgers. Look, these are both chalky picks. He's against Arizona. It has more to do with the struggles of Madison Bumgarner, who's been roughed up for at least 4 earned runs in 8 of his last 9 starts, 42 earned runs, 10 homers in his last 47 and 2/3 innings pitched. For his part, May has allowed only 15 hits and has 24 strikeouts over his last 5 starts, covering 26 innings himself. So throw in the fact that these teams live at opposite ends of the Western Division, and this one's a no-brainer for me.
Okay, is it a no-brainer on the infield, Paul? Splurging or saving here?
I could do some of each, so I'll give you one option at either end.
Okay.
Trey Turner of the Dodgers, $5,600 at Arizona. Look, he's one of the table setters here on a 17-game hitting streak. He'll enjoy the platoon edge against a struggling Bumgarner who's been getting roughed up. Like I said, I see a high probability for a big night for the LA shortstop and, in fact, the whole team here. Then I go look at Javi Baez in a game with Detroit at Baltimore. This is a case of a hot hitter facing a cold pitcher. Baez has gone 12 for 28 in his last 8 games, all with a part of a hit streak. He's got 4 extra base knocks in there. I say ride the hot hand of this Tigers flashy shortstop. He's really feeling it right now.
All right, Gare Bear, what do you want to do?
I'm in lockstep here with Paul. I think Trey Turner is easily the best play among the infielders tonight. He's $5,600. That's steep. I understand that. But he is fantastic against left-handed pitching. So far this season, hitting .318 with a .270 isolated power and a 164 WRC plus within the split. Those numbers are great on their own, and that's before you factor in just how bad Madison Bumgarner has been the last month and a half. Paul said he's struggling. That might be generous. I mean, the manager, Peter Novello, had to come out after his last start and assure people that Madison Bumgarner was still in this rotation. I think that says more about the pitching depth concerns in Arizona than it actually does about Madison Bumgarner. Or maybe it's just September and he's like feeling bad for the guy. Doesn't want to bench him with 2 weeks left in the season. But Bumgarner in his last 9 starts, his ERA is hovering around 8, and right-handed batters have absolutely destroyed him. They have a .663 slugging percentage and a .449 WOBA off of Bumgarner in that 9-start span. So he just looks cooked right now. And if the Dodgers actually want to use their real lineup, that is a slight concern, just considering they've clinched everything there is to clinch at this point. But if Trey Turner's in there, you have to use him tonight.
All right, to the outfield we go. We got 4 dudes who will cost you at least $6,000, including Aaron Judge, going for 61 tonight. Is this a position where you will splurge or save, Garion?
So if you want to use Judge, you're going to have to save somewhere else. And I think Corbin Carroll is a guy you can really, really rely on to save some money. He's $3,100, and he has been everything the Diamondbacks could have wanted from him since getting that call-up. I mean, this is someone who is one of the top prospects in all of baseball. And in his 51 plate appearances against right-handed pitching, so a small sample size, but still a reasonable sample, he's got a 190 WRC plus. He's hitting home runs. He's got some speed on the base paths. I mean, Corbin Carroll is everything you could possibly want in a baseball player. And even better, he was recently moved up to the 2 spot in the Diamondbacks order against right-handed pitching. So if that's the case again tonight against Dustin May, I think Corbin Carroll's in a fantastic spot.
Okay, Paul, what do you want to do in the outfield?
You know what? I think there's going to be big-time ownership on Judge, but he's facing a pitcher who hasn't given a home run in his last 5 appearances. I'd rather spend some money on Mike Trout and his matchup, one of the best players in the majors. He's gone hitless in 2 straight. He's only done 3 straight once over the last 2 months. The Texas starter tonight, Dane Dunning, has been tagged pretty hard lately, giving up 35 hits and 11 walks, along with 6 homers over his last 24 innings. That's a whip of almost 2, and Trout should have no trouble adding to those numbers. I also like on the low side, Robbie Greene of Detroit. He's at the top of their batting order, been on a nice roll for the past month. He cost $4,000, and it's going to get that extra at bat against a fading Baltimore club. I'm making the case for a Tigers stack tonight. You haven't heard that all season.
All right, guys, before you take off, I want to hit up the DK Sportsbook. Will you splurge and go with an underdog, or are you going to save and go with a favorite tonight, Paul?
I'm hammering that Detroit-Baltimore game, if you haven't noticed. The Orioles have lost 4 of their last 5, including the first 2 games of this set. I think they realize their playoff hopes are just about done, and they're acting like it. You have heard me mention a couple of Tigers as good, cheap batting options tonight, and that's got as much to do with the recent streak of the less than stellar performance by Jordan Lyles on mound for the Orioles as those Tigers bats in recent streaks. Lyles has been touched up for 21 earned runs and 39 hits, 7 walks for a whip over 1.5 over his last 30 innings pitched. That's not very good. On the other hand, Tigers starter Matt Manning has been on a nice streak with 5 solid outings in his last 6 starts. So I like the Tigers on the money line at plus 140.
All right, Gary, what do you want here on the DK Sportsbook? Splurge or save for me, dude?
Yeah, I was actually also looking at Tigers money line. I think Matt Manning has been underappreciated so far this season, but I'll move to another underdog bet on the money line, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals, who are plus 115 in San Diego tonight. This is pretty much just a case of the Cardinals getting a left-handed opponent. The Cardinals are the best team in baseball hitting left-handed pitching, and it's not even particularly close. They lead the league in ISO. They're actually the only team in baseball with an isolated power above 200 within the split. They lead in WOBA. They lead in WRC+. They lead in any category you could possibly want them to lead to. The Cardinals are the best at it against southpaw pitching. Blake Snell is also just one of those guys where you don't really know what version you're going to get on any given night. I think his last 12 starts, 8 of them have been amazing. He's allowed 1 earned run or fewer, and then 3 of those starts he's blown up and allowed at least 5 earned runs. So this could just be one of those nights where Snell doesn't quite have it, and if that's the case against the Cardinals, they are going to put up some crooked numbers.
Blake Snell, friend of the program here. We had him on for an interview a couple years ago when he almost got hit by a foul ball during BP. During that segment. So that's how I remember him. I did not feel bad. I didn't hit it. I don't hit foul balls.
You were distracting him.
Taters. Yeah, okay. I certainly did because of my award-winning questions. All right, you two are free to go. Thanks, Garion. Thank you, Paul. Coming up, why Brandon Newman of the Gojo Show is a modern-day Miss Cleo. That's right. Right after we bring you part of my conversation from yesterday with Cubs starter Justin Steele, who continues to work his way back from the IL, so don't roster him. All right, let's add some Windy City flavor now to the program and welcome in Cubs pitcher Justin Steele. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
I'm doing awesome. I know everyone here is doing great as well. We appreciate you giving DraftKings some of your time. I know you're currently on the IL with a back injury here, but dude, before you landed there, looking at your numbers, you were throwing it better than anyone in baseball here. So July and August, dealing an ERA of 1.46. So does that have you itching to get back, or do you think you may have pitched your last game this regular season?
I was really excited about everything that happened this year. I was committed to sticking to the plan, put a lot of work into the off season. And my goal was to, come into this season, establish myself as one of the starting pitchers, make about 30 starts, 150 innings. Came up a little bit short, with a back injury that I really couldn't do much about, but it's been a really good season for me thus far, and I would love to get back out there for like one more outing or something. But even if I'm not able to, very happy with how this year went.
Oh, for sure, dude. Like a breakout campaign for you. Like you'd still hit a career high in innings as well. I mean, you've most definitely pitched yourself into the long-term rotation on this ball club, and just your second year in the big leagues. And I know that team president Jed Hoyer has said there's no reason to rush you back right now, have you go healthy into the off season, start spring training down the road. But what was it that was working so well for you out there, Justin?
I think this year, me and the pitching staff and just everybody in general, we were able to really hone in on what I did well, and that was really throwing the four seam and the slider and playing them off of one another. My four seam kind of has some natural cut ride to it, so throwing that into righties, since I'm facing a lot of righties, since I'm a left-handed pitcher, people usually stack the lineup with righties. So being able to cut that four seam into righties and then being able to backdoor it on the other side and then throw the slider off of it, we were just really able to hone in on what I do well and really just start hammering in.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look around Twitter too, Cubs fans are absolutely stoked to have you on this team and stoked for your future in Chicago as well. How many of them talk to you or try to message you about maybe you being on their fantasy baseball team here?
So I do a lot of fantasy football myself and stuff, whatnot. So I know I definitely get where the fans are coming from because I'm a diehard football fan, fantasy, Saints, Alabama. I'm all in, just like the fans for baseball are. So I definitely understand where they're coming from. But Cubs fans are seriously some of the best fans in all sports. I mean, I live close enough to where I can walk to the field and just the people telling me hello each and every day. I walk in with the guys, the people that work at Wrigley Field, and they're always saying hello to me, and it's just some of the best best environment in all of sports, some of the best fans, and I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so on your walks to the ballpark, you ever get the, hey, you're in my starting lineup tonight on DraftKings, like, I'm going to need you to step it up for me?
Yeah, I've gotten some fantasy things. I've gotten people yelling at me about strikeouts and whatnot, but it's all good and fun. It just makes me laugh because I'm the same exact way.
Yeah,
betting on football. So it's just a lot of fun.
Okay, wait a minute. So have you slid into DMs or messaged any guys who are on your fantasy football team? Like, are you one of those fans? Are you like, hey, dude, I pitched for the Cubs. I need you to really bring it.
So I've never messaged an athlete or anything, but I will definitely just scream at the TV at the top of my lungs like they can hear me. But I've never gotten to the point where I messaged them because I know as an athlete playing a sport, I'm doing everything that I can out there to perform the best I can. So I know they're doing the same. So I've never gotten to the point where I message somebody.
Wait a minute. So is this like is that an unwritten rule? You know how baseball has like those unwritten rules? Is that one with professional athletes? Like you're not supposed to give each other crap if you're on a fantasy team?
No, I mean there might be some athletes that do that. It's just something for me. I just know I would feel kind of bad if like a NFL or an NBA player messaged me and were just chewing me a new one for how badly and poorly I was doing for them. So I just kind of I kind of put the shoe on the other foot for that one.
All right, you know what your best fantasy game was this year?
I do not.
All right, I mean think back to one of your best games last month. So the month of August here.
Uh-huh.
All right, you want to take any guess? Because you had some good games in that month.
It was probably the 10 strikeout one.
No, it wasn't. I thought it would be the same, but it was against Milwaukee. It was August 21st, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, nearly 30 DK fantasy points. So maybe on your walk home that night, I don't know if it was in Chicago or in Milwaukee. Let's just say it was in Chicago. On your walk home that night, you probably got a lot more high fives.
Is 30 DK points for a pitcher good?
That's very strong. You would want your pitchers in a DK fantasy lineup to have at least like 20 or so points. So close to 30 is excellent. Yeah, you probably.
Glad I'm helping. I'm helping people.
You probably made some people some money, that night on DraftKings. All right, did you know you can check out the Gojo Show every weekday to hear former Notre Dame teammates Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman offer their unique perspective on the hottest topics across sports and pop culture? I bet you did know that because I read this promo, every Wednesday morning before I introduce the guys here on The Sweat. Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, and more. Go download all the Gojo podcasts. Mike, good morning. Brandon, good morning. How's everyone doing today?
Hey, buddy, we're better now because we're with you always.
Oh, I love that. Brandon, how are you?
Mike. Hump day.
Bro, is that a Bobby Boucher jersey you're wearing?
It sure as hell is, Emerson.
Oh, my God.
Emerson,
real recognized real.
I don't know if you know this, but Brandon was there at halftime when the Mud Dogs won the Boyden Bowl. So,
dude, foosball. We're talking a lot of foosball here on the show with you guys today. Before we are off and running, though, I do want to revisit our segment from a couple weeks ago because Brandon absolutely nailing his 49ers prediction. Let's roll the tape.
This is for Jimmy Garoppolo, the Eastern Illinois alumni. Will you accept this rose? As someone who thinks that starting for a football team is overrated, I love this move of him taking the back seat, taking less money. All of his money is tied up in him just showing up for games and not getting traded and helping Trey Lance along. The fact of the thing that's been the issue with Jimmy G is him not just having that killer instinct that Tom Brady has and just taking it. And he's just like, you know what? I'll just take a back seat and I'll sit here and watch Trey Lance. And he may know something that we don't. I feel like all the incentives that are tied up in his playing time, I feel like he may think that he may be helping the 49ers out more soon than 49ers fans are really thinking with Trey Lance at the helm.
All right, you guys remember the 90s TV psychic Miss Cleo, right? Like that's you, Brandon.
I wish I had the catchphrase right now in the clutch, but I don't. But yes, I do see what's going on. 73 minutes into this NFL season, Jimmy G found himself back with his pals like Shane Falco in the Washington Sentinels, like back at the helm. Aaron Banks is talking about that voice. He has a voice like a video game player. Like I'm so happy for him because sometimes people work for things, and then other times people just sit back and falls into their lap. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the same way. I've just been sitting back, hanging around, and then Mike's like, hey, you want to do a podcast every day? I'm like, oh, yeah, let's do it.
And so how do you expect this to play out for the 49ers, Brandon?
Oh, I mean, Jimmy G is going to be Jimmy G, unfortunately. Like, I think he's going to be the regular season hero that he always is, and going to get that team into the playoff contention, and everyone's going to be looking at them like, oh, look how good the 49ers still are, because they're a playoff team before Trey Lance got there. It's just like that playoff ceiling. Oh, I don't know how this ends. I want to say that they actually get over the hump and Jimmy G gets the Super Bowl that I don't even know if he actually cares about getting one, just like he's just been at the tip, right, about to get there for his entire career, it seems like. Obviously, already won one with the Patriots as a backup. But I just see him winning the Super Bowl as a backup again. I really don't see him leading a team to a Super Bowl. He ends up doing crazy Jimmy G things, or Baker Mayfield-esque things, turning the ball over for pick sixes like Matt Stafford. He like combines for like the perfect terrible quarterback in the playoffs.
Mike, is San Francisco Super Bowl contender with Jimmy G under center?
I think in this year's NFC, yes, you'd be foolish not to put them in contender status. I think defensively, we always knew they were going to be such a live dog. Offensively, yeah, you lose some of the, dynamic rushing threat because you had your quarterback involved, which was unfortunately part of what ended up getting Trey Lance off the field. But yeah, they're a contender. For the reasons Brandon mentioned, still won't necessarily put them as a favorite just because Jimmy G's a player that we've seen has kind of developed a ceiling. So they'll be a playoff team. There's no doubt. And now the tough part is for San Francisco, that makes the future even more complicated. You've lost another year on the Trey Lance rookie contract. You've lost another year of his development as a young player who hasn't started and played a lot of football. And all of those things are going to really complicate the decision the 49ers are going to be a couple years away from making as far as the young quarterback they had invested so many resources in, because Jimmy G is going to play good and this team's going to be good.
Yeah, because the 49ers have been the NFC Championship game twice with this guy as their quarterback, once to the Super Bowl. So I feel like there's enough of a sample size that they'll be in the mix come January. And I know a lot of people would say maybe that's an overreaction, but what is a week 2 overreaction? What is yours this week, Mike?
I would say the Miami Dolphins are a playoff team. The Miami Dolphins are a team that I feel pretty comfortable throwing in there. And listen, water's going to find its level to an extent. That was a team that had to do an unprecedented 21-point fourth quarter comeback in a weekend where we saw a bunch of late game comebacks that were all atypical. But I think when you look at the structure of this team, and especially now on offense, Mike McDaniel has shown himself through 2 weeks to be someone who can throw out an incredibly competent game plan and who's put together an offense along with their front office that has the most speed in the NFL in almost every position. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill at receiver, Raheem Mostert at running back. You got track speed all over the field. And so I think what the fourth quarter can teach us is you're never really out of a game as long as this team is on the field, because you're one mistake away from them turning everything into a house call. And as Tua looks more and more comfortable in this offense, and that was my biggest takeaway from this last weekend, I think you start to look around and go, all right, the rest of the AFC East is kind of going to be a crapshoot. We know the Jets and the Patriots. The Patriots they both got a win over the weekend, and it was a good weekend for the division, but neither of them look the same or have the talent that Miami does. And if they're going to keep putting it together on offense like this, it helps the defense, and I think it makes them a playoff contender.
Yeah, Bills in Miami this upcoming weekend is going to be absolutely sexy. Brandon, what are you overreacting to after week 2?
That the AFC South is the worst team, or worst division in football.
Hey, relax, bro. Relax.
Okay, I'm saying 2 weeks in, and the one win in the division comes from your Jacksonville Jaguars.
You're damn right. They have 100% of the wins in the division. It's amazing.
Yeah, but the people who were at the top of the AFC last year for the Tennessee Titans, and Mike Vrabel has got the dog extracted from his chest and put into Dan Campbell. So I think that's my one overreaction. And then my other one is I think in the NFC Championship game, you might see the Eagles there. I think over these first 2 weeks, Jalen Hurts has a control over the offense that is unprecedented. He's taken leaps and bounds, and everyone's writing about it. And that defense is doing crazy things. If you want to talk about the beef in the middle with Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, or in the back with Big Play Slay with 2 picks last week on Monday Night Football, I don't know, man. The Eagles look real, and people need to start taking Jalen Hurts seriously finally.
Dude, the Jaguars plus 300 to win the AFC South right now. You better get on that while it is still there on the DK Sportsbook.
Free money. That's free money.
Thank you very much. And Mike, not to bury the lead here, but the Irish are on the board, gentlemen. So the Cal Hail Mary attempt, it was not caught. What else, though, did you like from Marcus Freeman's first win at the helm there in Notre Dame?
Offensive line finally showed up to the party in a meaningful way here. I think you look at Notre Dame on both lines of scrimmage. The Notre Dame defensive front was able to get pressure with 4 very easy early and often and make Jack Plummer's life a living hell at Cal. And then the offensive line paved the way. That offense with Drew Pine, the backup in at quarterback, struggled to move the ball in the passing game. Drew Pine had a rough first outing and they couldn't push the ball downfield. And so everyone knew they're going to go out here and have to run it. And they were still able to execute. They were still able to make that the strength of the team. And now heading into this coming week where you're heading down to North Carolina, that game opened as a pick'em. Notre Dame's getting 2 right now, last I checked. I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame's getting a field goal by kickoff. And that starts to become really interesting if this team can ball control again. Because on the other side, North Carolina's got a great quarterback in Drake May. He's awesome. And now I don't know if Josh Stills, who's their best wideout's available yet or not for the game. I haven't checked, but if Notre Dame can control both lines of scrimmage, an area where North Carolina is really, really struggling so far this season, now all of a sudden the growth and the trajectory for Notre Dame becomes interesting to monitor.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to score some points coming up this weekend because North Carolina is averaging almost 52 points a game, so you're going to need more than a 24-point effort in Chapel Hill. What'd you think, Brandon? Like, what impressed you the most with what Notre Dame was able to do in Marcus's first win?
Honestly, I just feel like getting the first out of the way is very, very important for Marcus Freeman. First bowl loss, unfortunately, got that out of the way. First away loss, got it out of the way, Ohio State. First home loss, and simultaneously the first embarrassing home loss, got that out of the way. And then obviously a comeback victory against Cal, a team that we should have had control over the game the entire time. But like Mike said, I think if we get to the point of just kind of like old school football, like grinded out that huge Leonard Fournette-esque running back that we have. Like, I think we can start to change the game a little bit. I like the youth that we have. I mean, Al Gordon is Golden is the oldest player, oldest coach over there when it comes to the coordinators and the people making the decisions over there. So I like us learning things and figuring things out. And I like our schedule because the schedule ends up getting more competitive as the season goes on and some of these rankings gets flipped around.
I also loved Tommy Rees just lambasting his quarterback there, like up in the booth as well.
Yeah, extremely memeable content from Tommy, which I appreciate him being giving to the internet. Those low-angle cameras also don't do coordinators a lot of favor, and I understand you can't have the high angle on the call sheet, but none of us look better shot from that kind of angle right there. It makes you look more menacing. Tommy Rees is a sweet guy, and I feel like that video angle doesn't do him justice.
Yeah, Brandon, you're married too. Like, you never go low angle, especially when taking a pic of your significant other. You will just be destroyed. I mean, like, your wife will pull a Tommy Rees on you and just shred you.
Longest arm possible, highest angle possible. We know the deal.
Yeah, you guys definitely do. Hey, so Cal wasn't able to complete the Hail Mary, but App State did in its victory against Troy. You had number 11 Michigan State upset by Washington here, guys. 12th ranked BYU could not handle Oregon. Texas A&M taking out Miami. What storyline stood out to you the most last week in college football, Brandon?
I got to say the Duke Blue Devils and all these traditional basketball powers coming out the gates 3-0 right now. You got Kentucky, Kansas, UNC. Who else is the trifecta for that?
Duke,
doesn't matter.
Syracuse
was the trifecta for that. But I think that's coming to an end this week because Duke has Kansas. Mike Golick Jr. is over here fighting for Kansas to be ranked, and everyone, wants that narcotic up into their system early in the season. But I like what Duke's going. I'm a little bit biased. My position, my strength conditioning coach at Ball State is now the strength conditioning coach at Duke. So I got there's some Notre Dame through lines there. We got a lot of friends on that coaching staff. So I'm rooting for the Duke Blue Devils.
Okay, Mike, so the Jayhawks are 3-0 for the first time since 2009. 7-point favorites, I believe, at home to Duke. And now Kansas, it's a team that's been just favored twice in the last 2 seasons. They've been 0-2 ATS in those 2 games.
Yeah, Lance Leipold's done a phenomenal job, did a great job over at Buffalo for everyone that remembers that tenure. And so much so that now as Kansas is enjoying this bit of a revival here, some positive momentum finally for the program, now his name is being mentioned left and right next to the Nebraska job as someone who is climbing up the odds on the board for that. So I'll be curious what happens. The Nebraska job's a whole separate animal, but right now, for Lance and this team, I don't think it's a fluke. I think this is a guy who knows legitimately how to build programs up the right way, and they're seeing the benefits of that.
All right, guys. Elsewhere in sports, like in the baseball world, you obviously got Judge going for a historic 61st home run tonight. The Mets are back in the playoffs there on the other side of town. Nathan McKinnon, now the highest paid player in the NHL ahead of Connor McDavid. And the Aces are WNBA champions. So what non-football sports stories were on your radar this week, Mike?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you mentioned it right there. New York baseball. Number one, the Mets doing it with the highest payroll in baseball this year. Now, some of that connected to the Dodgers and the Trevor Bauer issue there that lowers their number on the season. But the Mets outspending the Yankees feels like a big thing. Very excited for them. I think it's the first time since like 1989 that the Mets have led Major League Baseball in payroll. And then the Judge moment. Judge getting to 60 last night. The Yankees doing it in comeback fashion to get that win over the Pirates. And now we get to wait on history. And it's a good reminder that as I saw you and Jared Carabas talking the other day about what Judge's future in New York looks like, you can't let the beef batter get away, right? We got Vogelbach on the other side of town. Everyone needs a large man up there hitting dingers for their team. And if the Yankees somehow are to fumble the bag with Aaron Judge, shame on them for letting a beef batter leave.
Mike, have you ever seen him in person? Have you ever stood next to Aaron Judge?
I haven't, no, but I told Brandon this yesterday on the podcast. Giancarlo Stanton was a high school teammate of the quarterback I played with at Notre Dame.
Okay.
And we went to see him, and we met him when I was in college. And I remember standing next to, at that time, Mike Stanton, now Giancarlo Stanton, going, this dude's carved out of marble.
Yes.
He's looking down at me. His muscles have muscles. And to watch Aaron Judge make him look like a little baby terrifies me.
Yeah, he is so much bigger than Giancarlo Stanton. Brandon, what about you? What stood out to you, non-football story related over this past week?
I mean, you got to go with the Las Vegas Aces winning the championship. Becky Hammon coming in, all that smoke with her being the highest paid coach in WNBA history, so much more than the players. And she comes in and proves that she's getting money the way that all big NBA superstars should get money, because she just has a championship pedigree coming over there from the San Antonio Spurs. So I love that. Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, who obviously won MVP. I don't know, Sydney Colson. It was just really good to see. And it's like when your favorite reality TV show, because, you know, all this social media stuff is just like following a reality TV show. It's like your favorite reality TV show actually makes it to the big game and wins it, because they're just so much fun on social media as well. So that's a really good story. And with all these professional teams in Las Vegas, them finally breaking the glass ceiling for everyone else, it should be fun. Some pressure for the rest of those franchises.
Yeah, speaking of favorite reality TV show, mine used to be The Bachelor and Bachelorette, but man, last night was messy. Did you watch that at all, Mike?
I didn't get to watch it yet. No, I got that queued up in the hopper for today, but Twitter really looked like it was.
I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but buckle up, dude. It was wild, interesting, and extremely emotional. And speaking of The Bachelor and the Rose, it is time now for the Gojo Rose of the Week. What person, team, or story has earned your admiration and receives your rose this week, Mike?
So I want to go back to the world of college football. I don't know if you guys saw this. The Big Ten put out a little social media clip where they asked all the coaches in the conference if there would be an actor that played them in a movie, who would it be? And sweet, sweet Paul Chryst, the longtime now head coach at Wisconsin, after everyone else does the thing where they joke, oh, Brad Pitt would play me, Paul Chryst, ever the humble Midwesterner, steps to the mic and goes, they would never make a movie about me. No. Paul Chryst, my sweet, humble king, who has done nothing but serve up 10-win seasons since he got to Wisconsin. I want to offer this up as the spot, and I say this with so much love. If you had Kevin James playing Paul Chryst in a movie about Wisconsin football, I would be front row opening night watching the King of Queens head to Madison, Wisconsin, because it would be a beautiful union.
So you'd have Paul Blart play Paul Chryst.
It just writes itself. Some things are just meant to be. This is ordained by God himself.
Oh, my God. Brandon, what do you got?
Well, for one, obviously we got to get him on a Segway instead of a regular golf cart moving around the practice field there. But the rose I would like to give out is to another reality TV show star. Adam Levine is in these streets. Like, obviously, we're married men here, Emerson.
Where's this going?
Did you not hear about Adam Levine and what's going on?
No. I know exactly where.
Oh,
this is going.
okay. I was just saying.
Yeah, what a mess there. And I think my wife and I were out on Maroon 5. We're done. I'm no longer listening to Maroon 5.
Wow.
You calling it songs about Jane?
No, now like the music videos with he and his wife and his kid, I'm like, you're a phony, dude. You're a fraud, and I'm out.
Crossed the line. He crossed the line.
Songs about Jane was so good though.
So wait, who are
Listen.
you? Who are you giving your rose to?
Yeah.
I'm giving my rose to Adam Levine. That's a very bold. Like, if shooters got to shoot. If you like the name,
Whoa.
you gotta request for the name.
Oh my God.
Why are you giving your rose to this guy? Who?
Listen, this is called the sweat, and I'm sweating right now giving this take.
Yeah.
But I agree. If you like a name, listen, I don't think maybe he shouldn't have asked, but she would have found out eventually.
So
Like,
dude, no. So he slid into. I guess the story is he was talking to this lady on Instagram, whatever. Allegedly, yeah, sure, and said to his alleged mistress, I want to name like my kid after you, and I'm being serious about this.
Okay, listen.
Take his rose-giving abilities away, Mike. This is uncalled for.
The timeline. The timeline. He accidentally has slept into a little entanglement with the young lady at one point in time. He called it off. He was out of there for a little bit of time. Then he and his wife had a baby. I don't know, and then maybe it was inspired by her. She was his muse. He wants to name the little boy her name. I said, names are precious.
Brandon, I see you sweating right now because you realize midstream that you're wrong here. This is like when we were arguing today on the podcast about you saying that cookie cake. The second word in the name is cake. Brandon arguing that cookie cake is pie. Brandon has been dead wrong all day, and he doesn't understand how to pull himself out of this tailspin.
Brandon, I am done with you right now. That was like a Jared Carabas type hot take. Okay, we're gonna clip that. We're gonna tweet that out. I want people to voice their opinion on your rose of the week. I am disappointed in you, Brandon Newman.
Hey, America, the land of the free.
Certainly is. Yeah. Your boy there with Maroon 5 is extremely brave. All right, Team Gojo. It was fun, except for the last part. We'll see y'all next week. But we do still have some Golic flavor here to get to, because on today's episode of Golic and Smetty, guess what? Big Mike had the chance to talk to Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott to discuss the transition from Dak to Cooper Rush at quarterback. And here's a little taste.
Injuries are something you never predict. Tyron Smith goes out before that, and then you mentioned McGovern during the game there as well, and now Dak. So you go with Cooper Rush, and of course, all of us former players who become analysts, we all have our opinions on, can you win with Cooper Rush? How's it going to go? He had to start last year against Minnesota, but take us into the meeting rooms and on the practice field and your guys' comfort level with Cooper Rush.
I mean, so Coop's a guy who's been around. So he's year 6, and I think he's spent 5 of them here in Dallas. So, I would say the offense really hasn't changed much, since I've gotten here. It's a lot of the same plays, but I mean, not all the same plays, but some new plays, but, a little bit different verbiage. But Coop's been here for almost all of that. And so, he's super comfortable in the offense. He knows the offense really well, and, he's gotten that experience. He got that experience last year in Minnesota, on the road, and we got that win, and he played lights out, threw for 350. So, I mean, we have a lot of confidence in Coop.
All right, so the Cowboys are actually going to wrap up Week 3, the Week 3 slate, on Monday night against the undefeated New York Giants. Let's dive into some of the spreads on the DK Sportsbook with DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich, Jeff Ulrich, and Julian Edlow. So right now, G-Men favored by 2.5 in that one. After they have opened the season, again, undefeated, 2-0. This spread too high or too low for you, Jeff?
It's too low. I mean, again, it opened around 4 points. All the money has come in on the Cowboys, and everyone's all hyped up. Is Cooper Rush the best quarterback in the NFC East? Is he the best quarterback on the team. Is he better than Daniel Jones? Everyone's on the Cowboys after they covered for them last week. Yes, last week was an obvious spot to jump on the Cowboys after the line moved like 9 points after the Dak injury. This is not really the obvious spot. The Giants aren't great, but like covering a field goal, sure, they can do that. Saquon Barkley, they're going to run it down the middle. This is just a spot where I think the public is getting too hyped about the Cowboys. And if you look at the start of the year, fading the public has been the way to go. And I'm going to keep doing that here. I think the Giants at home not getting enough respect. This line gets back up to 3.5. Sure, you could maybe think about just laying off or even going on the Cowboys, but at 2.5 or even 2, which is where this line is going, give me the Giants.
All right, Pierce, what do you think?
Too low. I mean, if this game were in Dallas, the line suggests that Dallas would be favored to win with Cooper Rush and no receivers. I just don't see that. This is very disrespectful to the Giants. No one wants to buy into them. I know they haven't really beaten the two best teams, but Dallas, yeah, they beat the Bengals, but the Bengals in their first two games have played down to their opponents. So I don't really think that's the greatest victory. Sure, they rallied and they won a game, kind of fluky at the end. So you got to give them some credit there. But I think more of it goes to the Bengals just not getting the job done. And the Giants, I mean, they're motivated. They're at home. They've been disrespected. No one believes in them. They've got a lot more to play for, and they're playing well. I don't think they're going to be flashy at all with this roster. I don't know why people are expecting them to just throttle who they play. Look at the roster they have. They're going to win ugly, close games. They're motivated. The one thing I do worry about is the Dallas pass rush. But on the other hand, Dallas, like one of their strengths is turnovers, and they're not really turning the ball over. And New York isn't turning the ball over. Daniel Jones is being efficient, effective, handling the ball. If he limits his mistakes, the Giants should easily cover this number.
All right, Jules, as we're speaking on the DK Sportsbook, this now down to just 1 point. Giants a 1 point favorite.
That's what I was going to lead off with. This game's essentially a pick 'em. You're getting Giants minus 115 money line, Cowboys minus 105 on the other side. So we're looking at a pick with the Cowboys on the road here, all hyped up after the improbable win against the Bengals. This is when you kind of, if you zigged last week, you zag this week, and you go with the Giants at home. Even though the Giants are somewhat trendy as a, unpredictable or unexpected 2-0 team as well. I like what the Giants are doing, and the Cowboys now have to take that offense on the road, and they only won with 20 points last week on a game-winning field goal. I don't think that they can do it again. The Giants have been steady. They haven't won any, barn burners by any means. But yeah, I see this being like a, 23-20 type of Giants win.
All right, well, Chiefs are 6.5 point favorite on the road against the Colts. The Colts who just got shut out by America's team in Jacksonville. So for how bad Indianapolis is, Jeff, should this spread actually be longer? That team seems lost right now.
No, I mean, I don't think the spread should be bigger. Look, 3 weeks ago, if you were setting the line in this game, what would it be? Colts at home versus the Chiefs. Well, what would we be setting it at? What would pick them? Maybe the Chiefs like minus 2.5?
The look-ahead line before week 1, so 2.5 weeks ago, was KC minus 3.
There you go.
Minus 3, minus 2.5. Sure. I think it may even close at minus 2.5 or something like that. It's 3 weeks ago. I get it. The Colts not looked good. It's not good. I'm not a Colts backer. I think that secondary is issues. The Colts are a weak team, but we're talking about 1 week game, and we're talking about an 0-2 Colts team who this is it. I mean, there's no turning back here. They go 0-3. The stats for 0-3 teams are terrible at making the playoffs. So do I want to get on the Colts bandwagon? No, but if you follow Julian Edlow on Twitter, you know that about 90% of the money and 90% of the handle is coming in on the Chiefs right now. Again, just a total overreaction spot. I like the Chiefs, but I don't think they're quite as good as people think they are either. I think that the Chargers are still a better team. They let them off the hook in their last game. And I think the Colts, who did beat this team last year, Frank Wright probably coached his best game of the season, have a shot at definitely keeping this close. Michael Pittman is a big factor here. I think, just needing him out. We talk about wide receivers sometimes being not that important a position. I think he's extremely important for the Colts. So if he's out there, that's another boost. If he's not, I would still lean it. I would still see if we could get like +7 there, but I'm leaning Colts here. Fade the public. Teams that are 0-2 going into week 3 have a very good ATS record as well. Since 2010, they're about 58% against the spread covering. Give me the Colts here just for 1 week.
Pierce, fade the public?
No. This is it. This has been it. This was it. The last game of the regular season last year, where the Colts had to win and they couldn't beat the Jaguars, and they roll into Week 1. They lose.
They don't need to win. They need to cover, Pierce.
Yeah, they're done. These guys are losers. This team is done. They're defeated. They have to shake things up. They're completely rocked to the core. And even if psychologically, just put that aside, they've got too many injuries to deal with. I don't think the receivers are going to be healthy. You've got a washed-up quarterback throwing to no-name receivers. You're going to be out without your star linebacker. Cornerbacks are out. Defensive linemen are out. They've got physical problems on top of the psychological problems. Then you're facing the Chiefs. The Chiefs will have extra rest, extra time to plan. We've seen what Andy Reid does with extra game plan time. Basically had a perfect first half in Week 1. Did they struggle in Week 2? Yeah, it was probably too much to expect him to go hard on the Chargers on a short week with a completely new offense. We're going to give extra time to that completely new offense. There is a reason why the public loves the Chiefs and hates the Colts, and it's basically facts.
Jules, Indianapolis has a -4 turnover ratio right now. This kind of feels like a prove you still got it game for Matt Ryan.
It's a got-to-have it game for the Colts. Yeah. They absolutely have to show up in this game. Their home opener, by the way, first 2 were division games on the road. So, take it for whatever it's worth. I think that this is a spot where if it gets to 7, I'm looking at the Colts. I think that would be too much value for me as a home underdog getting 7 points. I really need Pittman on the field. What he did Week 1 and what the passing game was unable to do without him in Week 2. So it's coming with a couple of caveats here, but if Pittman is on the field and this touches 7, which it should because the Chiefs are just getting absolutely mashed, I have to buy low on the Colts because they need to have this game. Even if they don't win it, they have to be in this game late. And the Chiefs showed, the Cardinals that first game, that defense is awful, but they showed that they can get off to a pretty rocky start even at home in that game against the Chargers.
Well, Jules, Dolphins also hosting the Bills here. 5.5 point underdogs on the DK Sportsbook. This could easily be the game of the week. The AFC East is on the line, first place in the AFC East. These 2 offenses looked absolutely electric last weekend. So is this line too high or too low for you?
This is a really tough one. The look ahead was 3.5. So you're supposed to say that this line is too high, but we've all watched both of the Bills games because they've been a Thursday night and a Monday night game. They look really good no matter what the Dolphins did in that comeback on Sunday. I can't bet against the Bills right now. So even if the number is technically too high, I'm not betting Miami here. This is one I don't like. If I'm betting the game, it's probably like Bills team total or something like that because that offense looks unstoppable. The defense looks fantastic. I think they wind up getting there. The Bills have beat the Dolphins 7 in a row, 6 of them by double digits. I think that the Bills are the side, but I can't say that it's too high or low because the value is just so skewed right now with how good the Bills have been and the type of game that Miami's coming off of. I would say Miami probably lets down and the Bills keep rolling.
All right, Jeff, what do you want to do here, dude? What do you think?
Yeah, like Julian, I don't have a hard take about this game. It's a strange one. Obviously, all the money's coming in on the Bills. You just mentioned the primetime games. That's typically a really good fade spot. But again, like it's the Buffalo Bills. We're not even sure how good they are. Like that's just like we're not sure what their ceiling is. This line could easily just be too low. It could be a point too low, even at 5.5. I think the way to play this is wait until we get some sharp money coming in on the Dolphins because I do think that's going to happen. I think this line may actually move towards 4.5 at some point in the week, probably closer to game time. That's what I'm hoping happens because at that point, then I will bet the Bills. I think at 5.5, you got to give a little bit of respect to what Mike McDaniel has done. I would lean Bills here, but it's not exactly a huge play for me. This one, I think you should kind of wait on. I don't think that the line's going to get any bigger just because people will say, well, I mean, the Dolphins will look great. We got McDaniel, we got Tua. This is 6 points or this is 5.5 points. Let's get in on the Dolphins. At that point, I'd be buyers on the Bills, but I'm going to wait and see how this one pans out.
Pierce, Josh Allen 7-1 with 21 touchdowns, 5 picks against Miami in his career.
Here's a spoiler alert. The money is going to flood to the Buffalo side all season long and for a good reason. And if your stance is going to be, well, I don't want to play them because the money of the public's on Buffalo, good luck. Let's see how that works out. They're a really good team. We've seen it on prime time. Their defense has basically been perfect every quarter. We haven't even seen their offense go at full steam yet. They've showed up in the second half, but they've got off to slow starts. What happens when the Buffalo offense actually gets out to a good start, puts another team on its heels? And we haven't even seen the running game for them yet. They're still just passing left and right. They could mix in some draws and make this offense even more dynamic. This is just the first year for Ken Dorsey as the play caller, so he's going to get better scheming this offense. There, like Jeff mentioned, we have not seen the ceiling yet. And then, yeah, Miami, they looked good, but did they really? They scored a bunch of points against a bad Baltimore defense, and they allowed a bunch of points to Baltimore. I think this thing is heavily favoring Buffalo. This number is way too low.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. We still have some golf to talk about, which is why, Jeff, we need you to stick around because Len Hochberg will join us to talk some President's Cup. We got some interesting DFS contests on DraftKings this week. It's a totally different format as well. Not totally different, but a little different. Also, Max Homa, can he help the U.S. lead the U.S. to a victory in Quail Hollow? We will discuss right after this quick break.
Lamar, Zeke, Stephon, you've all been summoned to the Kevin verse.
You gotta be kidding me.
You're here because you're on my DraftKings Rainmakers fantasy team.
I liked him better when he was tiny.
Lamar, keep talking and I'll put you on a tiny bench. I've collected your digital player cards, and you're gonna help me build my NFT fantasy franchise so I can start crushing the competition. I need you all at 100%. Zeke, you're gonna catch a cold in that crop top. Maybe you should consider putting your belly button away. Hey, Lamar, you getting enough sleep? I seen you posting pictures in the club.
You stalking me?
Diggs, you gotta keep your hands moist so they stay soft. Nice and moist.
Please stop saying moist. We done here, man.
Well, go ahead. There's the exit. Ha!
Build a roster by opening packs and joining drops and win a share of over $1 million in prizes every week of the NFL season. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app to get your free full roster starter pack. DraftKings Rainmakers Football. Build, play, win.
All right, so yesterday we helped you out with a betting approach to the President's Cup this week. Right now we're going to do a DFS approach. Jeff Ulrich is back. We have Len Hochberg here. And gentlemen, like with these DFS contests on DraftKings for the President's Cup, it's in like the cup format, which basically works like a captain showdown. So you pick your captain who will cost you 1.5 times the salary, but get you 1.5 times the points in return. Then you fill out the rest of your lineup with 5 other golfers. So with that in mind here, Jeff, Scotty Scheffler, Cantlay, Schauffele will all cost you north of $15K for your captain. So are you spending up for that this week, or can you find some better value lower on the board?
I mean, there's some better value, and we're going to talk about like strategy and stuff like that. But realistically, like if you're, let's say your single entry or your cash entry this week, like you have got to roll with one of the top 4 American players, at least in my opinion. You've got Thomas, Schauffele, Cantlay, and Scheffler out there, and probably all 4 of them are going to see 4+ matches. A couple of them may see 5+ matches. I'm going to go with Patrick Cantlay as my pick here, and there's a few reasons why. First of all, he's attached to Xander Schauffele. That team, to me, seems set in stone to play at least 3 of the team matches, and I think Cantlay has a really good shot at playing 4 matches. He's quite frankly just like the higher end player. He played in 5 matches in the last International President's Cup, went 3-2 there. He's just got a good record in this event. He had a good end to the season as well. I expect Cantlay to be a player that the U.S. team really, really leans on in this spot. Scotty Scheffler's obviously great too, but Cantlay's a little bit cheaper. He's got a little bit more experience, and I think that's going to shine through. I think there's a very good chance you get 5 matches out of him, which is what we really care about here because we need that usage. So give me Patrick Cantlay as a pay up. Like I said, you know, for single entry, for just like lineups where you're looking just for like a high floor, you got to go with one of the American studs there.
Len, who's your pay up? Who's your captain here?
Yeah, I mean, these Americans will do very well in the competition, but I'm always going to take the cheaper guy in the pairing. If Scotty Scheffler is with Sam Burns, if Patrick Cantlay is with Xander Schauffele, they get the same points. I don't know why you would ever pick the higher price guy to be your captain. I mean, you may end up wanting to put them both in your lineup, which is also allowed under the rules this week. But as for the captaincy, Sam Burns over Scotty Scheffler, and quite frankly, even Xander Schauffele over Patrick Cantlay, they're very close in price, but Xander is a little bit cheaper. This is one of the strategies that I think we're going to talk about, that I've written about. It's just different this week. Go with the cheaper guy in the two-man pairings every single time.
Okay, well, Max Homa is one of the hottest dudes who are going to be in the field this week. He's going to be playing at the President's Cup, so he's 13-8 at captain. $9,200 here in the flex spot. Len, you interested in riding the hot hand, or is there someone else at this price point? Because I believe this is his first team event as well, but he's won here before.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. He has won on this course before. But more importantly, I find it interesting that finally it seems Max Homa's DraftKings price has caught up to Max Homa's game. I always thought he was a little bit, overlooked in favor of some other guys, but that finally has caught up to him. I think it's a fair price. He has spoken so passionately and so eloquently, not only defending the PGA Tour these last few months, but talking about wanting to get into this. This is a dream of his. I think he will come out and he will smash it.
All right, what do you expect here, Jeff? You're going to go with Homa, but then I see your boy Sam Burns right around that price point.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we're projecting rookies here for the President's Cup, again, what chance do these guys have to play like 4 or 5 matches? I think if there's any rookie on the American squad that has a real shot at like playing potentially all the matches, it's Max Homa. I expect him to be out there in the first wave. Now, obviously, you want to see what the pairings are before you make your final decision. If for some reason he sits wave 1, like back off a little bit. But if you're looking for an alternate captain for the American squad, yeah, I think Glenn is right. Like, I think that Max Homa has just a ton of upside this week. I think that he's been primed for this event. I mean, he won last week on the PGA Tour. That's a pretty good sign he's in good form. There's always risks taking rookies. What if he comes out cold? What if he starts missing 3-footers and then he has to sit? So it's a risky play. But for the bigger fields, I think captaining Max Homa actually is quite interesting. Loves this course. We know he's focused. Maybe some of the bigger named American guys come out slow and Homa just gets mixed in and he just ends up playing the entire matches. I think that's an actual scenario that could work out. So Homa's interesting for me. Plenty of upside this week, and we know the form, like I said, from last week is there.
All right, guys, unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I got to hit you with the last question here, which is, who is your favorite DFS play for the President's Cup this week, Jeff?
So let's switch focus here. Let's go to the international side.
Okay. Ooh.
Again, we need to project usage here. We want players who are going to be out there for 5 matches. I think Sung J M. If you're asking me any player who's going to play 5 matches, Jeff, who can I lean on here? It's going to be Sung J M. The international side cannot rest their studs. Sung J M just finished 2nd in the FedEx Cup race. He sets up beautifully for this course. He's a beast off the tee, likes Bermuda greens. I think Sung J M, even if the international side gets squashed, which they're almost surely going to, I think M, who went 3-1 in the last President's Cup, could end up with the winning record, maybe even get you 4 wins. I like Sanjay, especially at 11-1 in the captain and 7,400 in the flex. Really cheap.
Nearly won the Tour Championship over Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. Len, who do you got for your favorite DFS play at the President's Cup?
Yeah, I know we got to go quickly. Im and his partners beat Xander and Patrick Cantlay twice in 4-ball 3 years ago. He was 21 years old. But overall, Jordan Spieth in the match play, in the team event, not in singles. He gets killed in singles in this competition. But if he's going to be with Justin Thomas, 9,600, Jordan Spieth, 7,000, play Jordan Spieth, make him your captain. It is just one of the benefits of this quirky format where we can really take advantage of the pricing.
All right, good stuff, Len. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff, I'll see you tonight. We'll be with Reed. We'll talk more President's Cup strategy from the betting side, DFS. We'll talk a lot about Week 3 spreads and totals and all the odds around the NFL, but we got to go. We'll see everyone back here tomorrow morning. The slate's at 5 tonight, by the way.